You're watching the show that puts Mid-Michigan news in focus. This is Focal Point.
Tonight on Focal Point, an 8-year-old girl who touched the lives of people around the world is remembered by hundreds on MSU's campus.
The anniversary of the Boston bombings is approaching and marathoners are preparing to head back to the starting line.
And the sun is starting to shine in mid-Michigan, but the drastic weather this winter is going to make for a harsh allergy season. Focal Point starts now. Good evening, I'm Tia Graham.
And I'm Nick Blaskowski. Welcome to Focal Point. She was the girl whose smile lit up all of Breslin, and all of America had fallen in love as she became the Queen of March and best friends with basketball star Adrian Payne.
8-year-old Lacey Halls died late Tuesday night from cancer, but she will always be remembered. Focal Point's Mara Thompson was able to capture what she meant to the MSU community.
She was a beautiful little girl, and she had something that I'd like all of you to do. The smile. The smile.
She was the girl that touched everyone's hearts. They called her Princess Lacey. And although she made headlines for being friends with basketball star Adrian Payne, she had an impact on so many more.
I have ISM tickets, and I would watch her watching the games. And I mean, her smile was like electric.
MSU junior Kelsey Bear and nearly 1,000 other MSU students gathered on campus Wednesday night to pay their respects and leave messages for the family.
Basically, I thanked her for proving how strong someone can be and for showing us all how to be positive even in the worst of adversity. She was really inspiring, and I loved her. I never got to meet her, but I loved her.
What started as a Facebook group to paint the rock quickly evolved into a candlelight vigil with Adrian Payne, his teammates, and Coach Izzo leading the way.
You don't know how much it's mean to me and to, her family. So I'd just like to say thank you all for, coming out and doing this.
Although it's inevitable the words on the rock will eventually be painted over, this poster was created as a lasting memory.
She said, "Dad, I'm tired. It's time to go home." I think that's home.
And the impact Lacey had on the students is something that will be with them for a long time.
A very small amount of these people probably ever got to meet her, but she just, I don't know, there was something about her that just drew everyone to her, and everyone loved her, and everyone wants to make sure that they can memorialize her forever.
This little tiny girl, she wasn't that big, she wasn't that strong, but she sure was powerful, wasn't she?
For Focal Point, I'm Mara Thompson.
Lacey had the chance to travel to the Big Ten and NCAA tournaments with the team right before she died.
A memorial service will be held for Lacey at the Breslin Center on April 17th. The country's attention returns next week to the city of Boston for its annual marathon and the site of the horrific bombings 1 year ago. The stories of Mid-Michigan runners are chilling as they reflect on what they lived through a year ago, but also inspiring as some won't shy away from competing this month or in the future. April 15th, 2013. Images of senseless violence and utter chaos burned into our memories forever.
But this was last year's Boston.
For some Mid-Michigan runners, the day would unfold in a fashion much too close for comfort.
There was just one loud boom, and then shortly after another loud boom. But my initial response was, it's Patriots Day.
Derek Guddy, an East Lansing counselor and Iraq War veteran, had been running in his second Boston Marathon. Guddy captured this photo as he was crossing the finish line at 4 hours, 7 minutes. The first bomb went off near this exact spot approximately 2 minutes later. Guddy says his clinical practice and military background became useful throughout a shocking situation.
I identify it as very cerebral. I didn't have an emotional reaction, I guess to say, of fear at that time.
Gary McCrae, also of East Lansing, had crossed the finish line under 4 hours and was on his way back to his hotel.
At that point, you started to hear rumors where you ran into other runners or people on the street, and they said, we think a bomb went off, or bombs went off.
McCrae has been in 6 Boston marathons and has high hopes this year's race will go off without a hitch.
So it was a terrible tragedy, and I'm sure this year's race will be well protected, and there'll be a lot of security, and they won't have a problem.
Terry Corella hits the river trail where she trains at nearly 20 miles a day in preparation for this year's Boston Marathon. The communications director at Cooley Law School and alumna of MSU, Corella has been running the marathon for a decade. Her experience became the subject of a recent book titled 4 hours, 9 minutes, 43 seconds by a Runner's World magazine editor.
And the way he wanted to write it was through the eyes of the people who experienced that day.
These capital city marathoners have run thousands of miles in Boston and say nothing will stop them from heading back to the starting line.
We are going to go back to Boston, and it's going to be bigger and better.
April 21st, 2014 will be a day of tribute for those affected by last year's bombings.
There's going to be people there, absolutely, that are going to be probably thinking about it.
And a chance to send a simple message.
Essentially dig your heels in and say, I'm not going to let anyone scare us away.
Public officials are marking the 1-year anniversary by testifying at Washington, D.C. on what can be done to keep this year's marathon safe.
President Barack Obama visited the University of Michigan last Wednesday. Among talks about the NCAA tournament and eating at Zingerman's Deli for lunch, the president got down to business and discussed increasing the federal minimum wage from $7.25 an hour to $10.10 an hour.
And we believe our economy grows best not from the top down, but from the middle out and from the bottom up. And we want to make sure that no matter where you're born, what circumstances, how you started out, what you look like, what your last name is, who you love, it doesn't matter, you can succeed.
The potential raise of the minimum wage has stirred up quite a bit of controversy lately. While $10.10 may seem like a positive change in America, some think that this could negatively affect businesses and the economy. Only Congresses can raise minimum wage state to state, but President Obama has urged them to pass a bill raising it for all workers. While some people believe that this will also raise the prices of goods, others believe it will just be a small increase and worth being able to support working families across America.
My sense is that if it were raised to 10.10, the job losses, the dislocation would be relatively small, and you would have this much larger effect of having low-wage workers, a lot of low-wage workers, keep their job and earn substantially more.
Some experts say that about 21.3 million workers will be affected by a minimum wage hike.
A new recall for 2003 through 2011 GM cars was recently announced. The recall is due to a faulty ignition switch, especially dangerous because of cars suddenly stopping while people are driving. Several hundred complaints of keys coming out of ignitions put the recall in motion, and you can check the GM online registry to see if your car has been affected by it. It may be safer to be on the road in 2018 as the federal government has added a required safety measure to all cars. The Department of Transportation and its National Highway Traffic Safety Administration announced that all vehicles under 10,000 pounds must have rear visibility technology. This would be a new standard, and it aims to reduce the 15,000 injuries a year caused by backup accidents. The new rule will require the backup camera to show at least 10 feet wide directly behind the vehicle. Lingering time of the camera also plays a role, with the rule requiring at least 4 seconds, but no longer than 8 seconds of the same image. This law is expected to go into effect May 1st, 2018.
March 21st has come and gone, which means springtime is here, and so begins that pesky allergy season.
If you're somebody who already knows that you're allergic and that springtime is going to be rough for you, the best thing to do is to start early. Basically now would be the best time.
This allergy season may be a difficult one to deal with if you suffer from seasonal allergies like most people.
It's just so frustrating with these allergies this season. It's been worse than last year.
The weather in Michigan is finally warming up, and now the trees have to play catch up in order to pollinate. Dr. Dave Gupta, allergist at Sparrow Hospital, says the weather has played a role in slowing down allergy season.
The allergy season has been put off a little bit because it's been so cold. So that's kind of one aspect of where the polar vortex may be playing a role.
Trees normally release allergens into the air gradually, but with the polar vortex playing a role, the trees will have to spew out more allergens than normal.
It's tree season, so the trees have had all the moisture over the winter time, and now they're going to be pollinating, and so that pollen's going to come out, and so that's going to affect those people who are allergic to trees.
If it warms up quickly, there may be more concern for those who suffer from mold allergies as well.
Mold does thrive on humidity. Mold can be present spring through fall, basically from the thaw to the frost, but it is more prominent in the fall.
You can see that the trees are starting to bud, and with this, more allergens are released in the air. But there are some things that you can do to stop some of these symptoms. Ariel Harvey, a Lansing Community College student, talks about how this allergy season has affected her.
In the morning I wake up and my eyes are just so puffy and watery and tearing, and then I have to sneeze every 5 minutes.
We recommend the non-sedating antihistamines. The brand names are Claritin, Zyrtec, Allegra, but definitely the generic store brand would be fine. That's always the first step.
And for some,
I just want to be able to go outside and chill on my porch without having a sneeze attack.
Just want it to be over with soon. For Focal Point, I'm Tia Graham. You can get any of these over-the-counter medicines from any pharmacy. Up next, we'll have the latest updates on the construction at Spartan Stadium.
Plus, we'll take you to the MSU Science Festival, where hundreds of community members got involved in hands-on activities and demonstrations.
There are moments of triumph, of discovery, and achievement. But what makes these moments possible? It's the early mornings, the late nights. It's having the will to persevere. So let's take a moment to celebrate. But more importantly, let's salute the will it takes to get there. Spartans will. They've been called leaders, lifesavers, and world changers. They're also called Spartans.
Construction at Spartan Stadium is gaining momentum with the warmer weather.
And MSU hosted a science festival complete with exhibits, tours, and even a human brain. Kevin Burrows has more with those stories in On Campus Report.
Thanks, Tia. Construction is in full swing for the updates at Spartan Stadium. The north side of the stadium is getting a 50,000 square foot addition. New locker rooms for both teams and a new locker room for coaches are a part of the plan. Also included are new restrooms for guests, a new media center, and recruiting center for all varsity sports. And although the weather has pushed back the construction, it is still scheduled to be open for the 2014 football season.
It's a big upgrade. And the beauty of it is it affects a lot of people. Really, everyone that's involved with Spartan football on a game day is going to be positively impacted by this. So it's pretty exciting.
Greg Ianni says the stadium updates have already made a difference for recruiting for MSU football. Peter Pan opens Friday night, and it's going to be a high-flying adventure for all. The MSU Department of Theater closes their spring showcase with Peter Pan, a Disney classic. Peter Pan tells the story of a young boy who does not want to grow up. This musical features a new twist on the popular Disney fairy tale, but will also include popular songs from the original show. This production collaborated with MSU Bhangra Team, which is a popular folk dance done in the Indian subcontinent. Jacqueline Weir, who plays Captain Hook, says she took a lot of techniques from her acting classes and applied them to her performance.
In particular, we learned Michael Chekhov technique and with Derek McNish, who's a professor here, and a lot of his work is outside in, which means like you pick up a walk and a voice and you apply it to the text, and then it ends up like creating this character work.
Peter Pan will be performed April 11th through April 20th at the Passant Theater in the Wharton Center. Tickets are available at whartoncenter.com or at the box office. The MSU Science Fair returned to the area and featured a lot of fun for kids of all ages. More than 100 hands-on activities, demonstrations, seminars, exhibits, and guided tours are included in the 6-day schedule for this year's event. Alexander Colan says parents and kids are not exposed to many scientific things, such as the human brain, so it's excited to teach them and show them how the human brain functions.
Well, Well, when they see the animal brains, it's very fun. They're like, oh, nice. But when you tell them that this is a human brain, they're like, whoa, is this like from a person that died? So it's very interesting. Parents tend to be a little bit more scary than the kids.
The MSU Science Fair, which is a multi-day event, features work from students, staff, faculty, and the community.
You know, the crowds are fantastic. We're so pleased that people have come out for science, and that's what we thought, and that's what we hoped for.
And this science fair is home to many inventions, including this bike that powers Jacob's Ladder. The community had many opportunities to attend this event and experience science like they have never before. The MSU scientific community put on these events as well as guest presenters and community volunteers. MSU's Greek Life held their annual MTV Night on Tuesday. The event is a part of Greek Week 2014 where sororities and fraternities combine to form teams and compete against each other for activities to raise money for charity. 14 teams performed dance routines for a panel of judges, one of whom was MSU football coach Mark D'Antonio. Jenna Laprise, the team captain of Gamma Phi Beta team, was very pleased with their team's performance.
I would say our performance went really well. We've been practicing since January, and we really wanted the boys to be on point and really give a good performance and not be shy because it's out of their comfort. We've all been dancing our whole life.
Zeta Tau Alpha placed first in the competition, with Alpha Phi and Delta Gamma coming in second and third place. The Greek community raised more than $180,000 for American Cancer Society Relays for Life. That's all on campus. I'm Kevin Burrows.
For many students, college life can be a stressful time leading to mental health issues such as overwhelming anxiety and depression.
Organizations from across campus are joining with the East Lansing community for the inaugural Mental Health Awareness Week. The week got off to a solid start at the Rock with a Color Run 5K, followed by many events for students to relax and de-stress while taking advantage of the nicer weather. Activities continue through Saturday and center around the theme of Release the Stigma, which organizers say is about recognizing it's okay to discuss mental health problems.
During this week, we want to, again, start conversations, instigate discussion, and make mental health seem like okay to talk about and okay to take action on here on campus.
When you take away the stigma from things, it suddenly makes people, it takes away so many reasons why people don't seek help.
The start of Mental Health Awareness Week is rather timely. It comes just 1 week after Senator Debbie Stabenow's Excellence in Mental Health was signed by President Obama.
Coming up, the MSU football team is getting back in shape, and the incoming freshman class has just gained a new lineman.
Plus, the baseball team kicked off their season recently with the annual Crosstown Showdown. Tiara Morocco has that and more next in sports.
When I was greener than the hill, where flowers grew and the sun shone still. Now I'm darker than the deepest sea. Just hand me down, give me a place to be.
I'm Tiara Morocco with this week's sports. With the recent warm weather, the MSU football team practiced outside this past Tuesday. While the season is still over 5 months away, position battles are underway with players hoping to get on the field come fall. This was the first time the players had a chance to complete a full practice outdoors. Former Spartans and NFL draft hopefuls Darquez Denard and Isaiah Lewis attended the practice and gave some tips to the current players. Head coach Mark D'Antonio has liked what he has seen out of his players and hopes they continue to improve.
You know, hopefully we continue to get better. You know, I thought we hit full stride last year, probably in November, and really didn't look back, and I think we can build on those things. So Langford's been good. You know, Nick Hill had a big run on Friday as well. And, I just see our guys playing physical up front.
As for the upcoming season, Michigan State recently announced that its season opener against Jacksonville State has been moved up to Friday, August 29th. The MSU football incoming freshman class received a major boost with the news that Malik McDowell officially signed. The 6'6" defensive lineman from Southfield High School committed to the Spartans on signing day back in February. However, McDowell's mother, Joya Crow, did not want her son attending MSU, which greatly delayed the process. McDowell considered offers from Ohio State, Michigan, and the defending national champs of Florida State before choosing MSU. Head coach Mark D'Antonio is extremely excited about the versatility and raw talent that McDowell brings to the table.
I think what makes him so special as a player, he has a unique ability. Obviously, he's a big guy. You know, he goes about 6'6", 290. But his versatility to play defensive end, to play defensive tackle, his power, his speed, his athletic ability, his size, obviously, are huge characteristics.
D'Antonio believes McDowell will be an important part of the Spartan defense next season, saying he's too talented not to be on the field. The men's basketball team fell to the Connecticut Huskies in the Elite Eight matchup in the NCAA tournament. Coach Tom Izzo shared his thoughts on the game, the team, and the future in his postseason press conference.
This team had to play with so many injuries because I don't think we ever reconnected to where we were, could have been. And there'll be other teams that have gone through one or two. But it was hard on these guys, and it was hard on me. And it was probably hard on you. When you think about when I got the job, going to 4 straight NCAA tournaments would have been an act of Congress. And when you think about what these guys have accomplished with the Sweet 16s and the Elite Eight, and not getting to our ultimate goal was disappointing, but there was still a lot to feel good about. He had worked so hard to improve it, and then it just was taken away, and you know, I wanted to make sure I gave him every chance. Did I still think he was the best guy in this last game? Travis, when he was at the point, they just attacked him. And so I still went with what I thought was best. I think what the Big Ten is starting to do now is we've established ourselves as a basketball conference also, you know, and a very good one. And I think the addition, you know, I don't know what Rutgers will bring, but Maryland I know a little bit more about. That's going to be a pretty good addition. And my leaning thought would be that, you know, he could surprise me like AP did, but I think he's going to be a very solid pick. And if all those stats come out, then I'd be leaning to advising him it's time to make the jump. Listen to the people complain, but don't lose sleep over how we'll be next year, because people are probably right. I'm probably better being an underdog.
With Keith Appling and Adrian Payne graduating and the possible departure of Gary Harris, next year's team will have big shoes to fill. Students got a chance to enter the game of speed networking with sports media professionals and alumni. The 2014 Spartan Sports Journalism Classic was hosted by Hall of Famer NBA All-Star Steve Smith and Acting Dean Steve Lacey. Students had 5 minutes to pitch themselves to the sports media pros before journalism director Lucinda Davenport blew the whistle, sending them to their next interview. Alumni says they always appreciate the chance to come back and talk about how MSU led them to where they are today.
I was very fortunate in my time here to have plenty of opportunities to experience journalism across the board between broadcast and print and digital and everything that goes into journalism, and I love coming back here to share my experiences and share my knowledge and advice for other journalism majors.
This was the second annual Sports Journalism Classic, and it has been a great way for students to network and make connections, leading to potential internships or jobs. The Michigan State baseball team had to wait longer than expected to play in front of their home fans. Focal Point's Max Gunn tells us why and takes us through the work that was involved in order for the Spartans to finally be able to play at home.
This is the sight that baseball fans and players in East Lansing are finally able to see. The Michigan State Spartans baseball team had their first 4 home games relocated due to severe winter weather throughout mid-Michigan. Jeff Barnes, Sports Information Director for MSU Baseball, said that one of the toughest parts about rescheduling games is making sure other ballpark employees are able to work.
You're working with your counterpart to make sure, either yourself or they will, be able to cover the game as far as, doing statistics and providing, the essential duties, PA, that kind of thing.
However, spring weather is finally in the air, allowing MSU to play their first home game. Amy Founty, athletic turf manager for Michigan State University, said she and her team were putting in long hours of work in order to get the field ready.
Every chance we got to get out, shovel snow out of the dugouts, work on the warning track, shovel snow off the skin covers that we had on over the winter, the mound.
Founty also said that in her 11 years on the job, this is by far the most challenging winter she's faced. She said her and her crew had to remove several feet of snow and ice from the field in order for baseball to be played.
The first home game signals much anticipation for how the team will perform.
I'm definitely eager to get out here and see the team, as I haven't yet been able to see them yet this year.
The field may not have its lush green appearance yet, but if the spring weather holds, it will certainly be on the way.
As soon as the soil temperatures reach 55 degrees on an average during the day, we will start our fertilization process.
After the worst winter in recent memory, baseball players, fans, and team personnel around East Lansing are back to what they love doing most, playing at home. For Focal Point, I'm Max Gunn.
Baseball season began last week in Lansing as the Spartans took on the Lansing Lugnuts in the annual game. Focal Point's Mara Thompson was there to capture the excitement of the start to the season.
On a night that felt more like late November than early April, fans braved the cold to see the Spartan baseball team head down the road to take on the Lansing Lugnuts for the 8th annual Crosstown Showdown at Cooley Law Stadium. The weather made for the lowest attendance since the rivalry began, but that didn't stop the diehards.
It's always fun to come out. It's a fun sport to watch, so why not?
Not many Lugnuts fans. Mostly the green and white faithful, from MSU Spartan Brass to Zeke the Wonder Dog, coming out to cheer on their team, including 2 former MSU baseball players.
It's a fun night to come out here and have a good time. Get to get out in front of a big crowd normally. I mean, it's a little cold tonight, but it's still just a really fun experience.
Admitting it's tough to play when it's so cold.
Unfortunately for baseball, a lot of it is about the weather. It's a little cold tonight. As you can see, I'm bundled up pretty well.
And although Michigan State has won the series only twice, fans were hopeful for a win.
I'll go
3-1.
Yep, 3-1 sounds good.
Actually, 4-3. 4-3.
4-3.
Michigan State.
Close game, but Michigan State pulls it out in the end.
The Lugnuts went on to win 3-2, but in a game where the score doesn't affect either team in the season, it's important to remember why they're there.
Number one goal is tonight is have fun, because this is a good arena to let the fans see what you can offer.
Yes, it'd be nice to be warm, but why not, man? Good friends, $2 beers, I think it is, so we'll make fun of it.
For Focal Point, I'm Mara Thompson.
If you're looking to catch a game, both teams play tomorrow at home. That's what's happening in sports. I'm Tiara Morocco. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Tiara. East Lansing sees a lot of traffic both on and off the road, with Michigan State University in the area.
Find out how students are making a way past all of that chaos. Focal Point's David DeFever explains how.
A new trend is wheeling into town. Not buses, not bikes, and certainly not vehicles. But this. And this is longboarding.
I definitely love longboarding here.
The popularity of this sport is growing fast, and students like Erica Zazo are taking full advantage of it.
It's an awesome way to get around campus, and I've been enjoying it ever since I've been here at Michigan State.
Zazo says, like anything, there are pros.
The bike lanes make it really easy to cruise around campus, especially with the new pavement.
And cons.
Even skating through puddles is pretty difficult, but I'm ready for it to get warm.
In the past 3 to 4 years, we've really seen an explosion around campus.
Jim McGregor owns Action Board Sports in East Lansing, the largest supplier of longboards in the Midwest. They may look similar, but McGregor says it's a lot different than skateboarding.
It's more efficient, but it's a lot easier for people.
The demographic is anywhere from 12 to 60 years of age, but females are also getting involved, says high schooler Emily Voss.
I think that girls have realized how fun it is, so then they do it for enjoyment, but as well as transportation.
And Zazo couldn't agree more.
I think it's becoming more of a trend to see girls picking up longboards now too.
For Focal Point, I'm David DeFever.
That girl can definitely longboard. Well, that's our show for tonight.
We leave you now with sounds from one of MSU's a cappella groups, Capital Green.